Hello, everybody, and welcome to A Balanced Life with Dr. Jacquie. This day and the show that we have planned will be nothing short of extraordinary. We've invited some outstanding guests to talk to us about what it means, how to center yourself, how to get ready for your day, even when you're not feeling your best. Let me tell you, I'm an allergy sufferer. I have worked hard at trying not to take medication, but let me explain. There's some things related to being able to find clarity that when it isn't on point, when it's not happening for you, you seemingly just cannot pull yourself together. So we have with us today our contributor, Dr. Tierney. We're going to talk to two amazing chefs, Chef Monica and Chef Didi. And of course, we had to get a medical doctor on board because we can't talk about all things balance and all things health without talking to a great physician. So we have Dr. Gloria Ivy Crow. Today, welcome to A Balanced Life with Dr. Jacquie. Dr. Tierney, how are you doing today?
Hey, Dr. Jacquie.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you as always. Love being here.
Yeah, let me tell you, trying to live this balanced life has been difficult. This season of us still being in a pandemic, we're moving into spring. Daylight savings time is almost here, and people are wanting to get out and about. And I know that in your resource, your book, Level Up, you talk a lot about how to get yourself together, how to move from stage to stage in your life. Can you share with our audience sometimes why it's difficult to just pull yourself and get it together?
Yeah, I mean, it can be a number of things, but as you just said, kind of with the pandemic and with things kind of moving slower during the winter, we get kind of lulled into these little ruts, and sometimes we don't know that we're in a rut until we're trying to get out of the rut. And then we're struggling to do those things, those tasks that we have on our list, to do. And I'm just thinking about spring cleaning, right? We always kind of have our list of things we want to clean out for the spring and, get a fresh start. But one of the things that we fail to clean is spring cleaning our minds, spring cleaning our, emotions. And so those are the things that become the hindrance. So when we find it hard to get back into the gym or, the days are longer, so we're going to go for a walk, but really what we want to do is just keep Netflixing and chilling. Those are the things that we want to start focusing in on spring cleaning. As we're spring cleaning our house, start doing a little spring cleaning of our mind and our emotions too.
Mind, body, and soul are such important dynamics and components to being able to live a balanced life. Absolutely. And when that's not happening, I know for me, earlier this year when we started the show, I gave you a P word, and the P word was perspective. And it gave us an opportunity to really take an inventory of who we are and where we're going and what that will look like. So for this month, I have another P word, and the P word is perspective. That's one. But then how about what it looks like to really be able to go through the processes that we have to go through on an ongoing basis to get out of our way. Yeah. Not only just to clear the clutter from our head, but we're dealing with the mind, the body, the soul, the emotions, the people, the pandemic, let me just tell you, everybody, it gets to be too much. Yeah. And as I talk about this settling in, this process of processing how we focus our lives, clarity comes to key. What do you think about clarity as a way to seek the avenue of escape from the mundane, the what's wearing us down, and the overall being overwhelmed?
Yeah. It's funny because that's actually my favorite C word. I know we're talking about P words, but that's my favorite C word, clarity. And clarity is one of those things that a lot of my clients, that's what they say they want the most. They want clarity, but it's like, how do I get that clarity as I'm navigating my day to day or, trying to make the shift, trying to get to the next level? How do I get that clarity? And so I always say first, like we have to start within, start thinking about what are we thinking about? Being mindful of what's happening in our mind. Joyce Meyer often calls it stinking thinking, those things that are just lingering in our mind that are just stinking, just stinking up the place. We ignore that. But really what happens in our mind will eventually come out of our mouth in the form of negative self-talk. How are you talking about yourself? How are you talking about your situations? What is your, as you say, perspective about what's going on, in your life? And what are you saying, about it? And I always park here because the word tells us that life and death is in our mouth. And whatever we say, we will see, but it all starts in our minds, moves to our mouths. And then the next thing, it shows up in our hands? What self-sabotaging actions may we be engaging in? So we're saying, okay, it's in the spring. I want to start getting out, working out more, and being mindful of what I eat. But you see that hot sign at Krispy Kreme, and so you go get those donuts. That's a self-sabotaging action. And so when we're thinking about getting that clarity, we have to start with first, what am I thinking on a daily basis? What am I allowing to occupy my mental space? And what am I saying that I may be speaking in direct opposition of what it is that I want to see manifest in my life? And then what am I doing? How am I showing up, and where may I be self-sabotaging my own progress? And so once you start focusing in on those three, then you'll start to get more of that clarity that you really want to see happening in your life.
You're absolutely right. Living in a brain fog, not being able to settle on a point of reference, not being able to get a foothold into where you see yourself moving can leave some people feeling as if they're hopeless and that there is no directionality related to how to get to point A to point B and moving their lives forward. When I think about the process as it relates to getting along in life, coming through this pandemic, because we're certainly far from being out of it, one of the relevancies related to all of this for me is having a guiding principle, if you will, making certain that you see yourself where you want to be. It's like backing into the end result that you see for yourself. What are my steps from where I would like to be? And then how do I back into getting there? And being able to allow yourself to anchor in and to hold yourself down in that space will really allow you to not feel as if the ebb and flow of life is just tossing you back and forth. When you designed Level Up and you're really blessing and helping people find their anchor, their foothold, how do you guide them through the principles of this is where you see yourself today, and this is where I'd like to be tomorrow? But somewhere there's this ceiling, this mental engagement that's going on in my head, and I'm talking myself out of being able to move forward.
Yeah, that's so good. And it's actually what you're talking about is actually the crux of my coaching programs. So my coaching, in my expertise, I found that coaching works best as a two-part process. The first part is what I like to call intentionally internal. That's where we start to really look at those innermost thoughts, feelings, beliefs, habits, those things going on in your mind, those things that are coming out of your mouth that are getting in your way, that are causing you to get in your own way, And so we focus in on those things. We really get to the heart and the root of what exactly is going on there. Then we switch to the second part of it, which is called external activation. This is where once we have that clarity, this is where we then get into those specific strategies, those specific steps that help you to move from where you are to exactly the level where you want to be. And a piece of my program, what I do with all of my clients, is I build for them a level up strategy. Okay. And so this strategy, it's literally where we reverse engineer your goal. We take your goal, we quantify that goal, we qualify that goal, we get to your why of why that is your goal, because you could have a goal, but then when the going gets tough, the why is what helps you to keep going, and so we really focus in on that goal to get that goal crystal clear. And then what we do is we break out the baby steps and the milestones. So you know exactly what to do, because often when we're trying to embark on getting to that next level or getting to that next goal or exactly where we want to be, sometimes we'll either do all the things and we'll become overwhelmed. So then we'll end up doing nothing, or we won't know where to start. So then we'll kind of get into this freeze where we don't do anything, but by building out those strategies with the baby steps and the milestones, it's like eating the elephant one bite at a time. Before you know it, you're exactly where you want it to be. And then you just repeat that process over and over and over again. So it's all about taking those baby steps, but first starting with that internal piece, because it doesn't matter if I could give you the blueprint to build the Eiffel Tower. If you're still self-sabotaging, if you're still got stinking thinking, if you're still getting in your own way, then you won't be able to activate. So it's important, it's vital that we do that internal work first. And then you'll be activating in the externally like nobody's business. It'll just happen. My clients come all the time and say, Dr. Tierney, guess what I did today? It's just the activation comes once you focused in on that internal piece.
Thank you for sharing those tidbits with us. As you can see, being able to mentally engage and prepare yourself for what comes next in life is very important. It's vital to your overall health and well-being. And as Dr. Tierney has shared with us what it looks like to be able to engage yourself mentally, to get internally engaged with who you are, I'd like to bring in now our medical physician, Dr. Gloria Ivy Crow, because oftentimes it seems as if we can mentally be in one space, but be physically drained, be physically tired. And oftentimes, when the body won't move, the mind won't go. And then everything else just seems to fall apart. Everyone, Dr. Gloria Ivy Crow.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, Dr. Gloria.
Hi, Dr. Tierney.
It's so good to have you here, Dr. Gloria. This is one of the reasons why I wanted you to come on this show today. You bring to us a wealth of experience and a wealth of knowledge. So would you share with our audience your area of expertise and what it is that you do to bring balance not only to your life, and then share with us some of the tips that we can use for our own?
Well, I'm an obstetric gynecologist in Loudoun County, and I also do an addiction medicine as well. And for balance, I was listening to Dr. Tierney. I thought it was important that she said the mental health piece part of it, because that's so important. And so many times we can get in our own ways in terms of our mental health. And the thing that I thought about as we talked about the pandemic and what's going on was the stress level that we all are under. We all had different levels of stress over the last 2 years, whether it was regarding employment, whether it was regarding working, school, all different levels. And that internally has a lot of different effects. It has physical effects, it has mental effects. The mental effects, of course, lead to us having problems with depression, also having problems with having clarity, as Dr. Tierney talked about, but clarity, forgetting things, not being able to do tasks, all of those things inherently are a part of the process of when you got that brain fog kind of going on. And so for different people, how we process and what we do for to decrease our stress level, as well as to help us continue to try to have a balanced life in spite of everything that's going on, whether it's work or family balance. It's different things that we do. For me, I don't get a chance to exercise as much as I like, but I like to do my hand things that I do that are fulfilling for me, whether that's reading, whether that's doing needlecraft, socializing with friends in a COVID environment as well, and doing a lot of things virtually. But I think all of us have to come up with a program that we can at least try to execute, to try to take a look at what areas that we can change, because different things in our lives can impact how our clarity, whether we're remembering things, whether we're having issues with depression. We have to make sure we stay in contact, I think, with a medical health provider, because sometimes not being able to have clarity is related to medications that you can be on. It's related to hormonal changes in your body. And so when I come from a medical perspective, I'm going to look at it from what's going on physically, what's going on in your life, what's going on in the surroundings that's affecting how you respond, how your body is responding, and all of those factors indirectly have effects on the brain. And the brain is the source of our mental health. It's the source of us being able to have clarity, to be able to remember things, to be able to not be in this fog, or not being able to be goal directed, as Dr. Tierney talked about. That's important that we make sure that we've looked at those areas of concern or discuss those things with our healthcare provider, because different things that we're doing, our environment, our medications, our hormone levels, our levels of stress hormones, all of those different things impact us in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I want to pause for a second and go to a break. And when we come back after the break, I have so many questions for Dr. Gloria. And one of those questions when we come back after the break will be, how do you let the hot air out of the balloon? We'll be back in a moment on A Balanced Life.
All right.
Pull up a chair, take your seat at the Black Table with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life with Dr. Jacquie here on Black Star Network. We are having an outstanding conversation with Dr. Tierney and Dr. Gloria Ivy-Crowe. Now, just before the break, Dr. Crowe talked about how stress impacts our organs, how stress can really wreak havoc on our internal being. And as she was talking, I was thinking, how do you let the hot air out of the balloon? Sometimes we just want to go, and find this space where we can just get ourselves together. But oftentimes we can be doing a little bit more damage than we believe. Dr. Gloria, welcome back to the show. Listening to you talk, and you were saying from a female perspective, your area is in obstetrics and gynecology. We as women take on so much, but we also recognize that our fibroid issues, our internal organs, our cortisone levels, all of this can wreak havoc on us being able to propel ourselves toward our goals, our dreams, and aspirations. Can you share with us the value and importance of taking it easy when we're trying to move ourselves forward?
You know, it goes without saying that stress has enormous effects on all parts of the body, whether it comes with us thinking clearly, whether it comes with us with our weight, whether it comes with increased obesity, different issues, the stress has its impact. And so for a lot of people, sometimes it's just a matter of some external forces to help guide them and direct them, to help them say, look, this is what a day in your life looks like. But are there areas that you can look at that you can do some things a little bit different to change? One of the things we can start doing, and everybody does things different. Some people do exercise, some people do yoga, some people do meditation, some people play games. Some people have different ways they have to release their stress, but we do have to do that because in the long run, it takes a toll on our body. It affects our hearts. It affects our levels of stress hormone. It affects our metabolism. It affects our thyroid. So in different areas, we can make some adjustments. What somebody does may be, it's different from person to person. What I like to tell people to do is think about the effects of whatever is happening with them. If they're not well, they can't take care of their family. They need to make sure they take care of themselves. While we're, as nurturers, we're always trying to take care of everybody else, but we've got to take care of ourselves as well. And we have to pivot to be able to say, I've got to do some self-care for myself, whether that means taking some time, some downtime, whether that means engaging in activities that are relaxful for me and causes me to release endorphins, like people that exercise, people that do things that are less stressful, you get release of endorphins, because in the long run, it takes an impact on our hearts and different other areas of our body.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Dr. Jacquie, can I jump in on something?
Please do, because I needed to exhale on everything that she just said. You saw me let the air out of my balloon. I'm just going to let it all out. Go ahead, Dr. Tierney.
It's something that you said, Dr. Gloria, that I hope, everyone heard was you have to be intentional, but it's also an intimate process. What do you need? What might work for her might not work for you.
Exactly.
And also in the different seasons of our life. So I'm going to just go ahead and tell on myself. I used to be able to work out and do the high intensity intervals and box jumps. And now my body's like, no, man, we can't do that. We need to do some yoga. We need to get some Pilates in here, so as the seasons change and as age change. And as age, there we go. Because she just turned 42. Let me just go on and tell all the way on myself. But as seasons change, as life changes, what we might have been able to do in one season or what might have served us in one season might be detrimental in this new season. So as we're talking about balance is not something you can set it and forget it. You have to constantly come back and check in with yourself and say, hey, sugar, what do you need in this season? Do you need more water in this season? Do you need more rest in this season?
Exactly.
Might not
COVID taught us that.
Absolutely.
We had to adjust. We had to pivot. We had to do things differently. We didn't have access to the gyms and everywhere else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yes, sometimes we're stressed out and running ourselves in the ground because we're trying to keep up this momentum that we used to when we were in our 20s or when we were in our 30s, and we need to reset. Now we're married and got kids or different jobs or different responsibilities.
Exactly.
So we may not be able to keep that up. And there's no shame in that.
No, none at all.
It doesn't mean that you're lazy or anything. No. It just means you've had to reassess your plate to see what you need in this season. I absolutely love everything about what you just said, Dr. Gloria.
Totally
I just had to jump in there.
Yeah, totally true. Being able to pivot has not been easy. Some people didn't know how to do it. And for me, it's been, sometimes I needed to totally pivot. I needed to just do a complete about face and say, hey, you need to turn around, go in a completely different direction. And that caused me to really get in a space where I was able to say, you got it. But then there was some times where I said I needed to just shift. And shifting for me was one of the little things. It's like everything is not totally out of control in this area. So all you need to do is move a little to the left and move a little to the right. But then there were other times where I was like, I needed to, swivel. I'm like, wait, I didn't just turn the whole self in a totally different direction. And sometimes you have to be okay with abandoning where you thought you were going.
Yes.
This is the hardest thing for people. It's like we're still in this pandemic, and yes, we're out and about, we're having a good time, we're putting our mask on, we're washing our hands, we're gloving up, we're doing it all because we want to have some semblance of what used to be. But let me tell you, our new normal and our new next is going to cause us to constantly be in a state of flux. And for so many people, it's not easy when you're a type of person who needs structure, when you need things to be constant. It is very difficult for people to settle in a space. Before we go to our next segment, I want to ask Dr. Gloria this question. What can you offer to individuals who are having a hard time being consistently in motion?
Well, that's a question that's kind of a little difficult to answer sometimes because everybody is always in motion at some point. And I like when I was listening to Dr. Turney saying she comes up with a plan with just small steps. And I think as a healthcare provider, what we can do is when our patients come in, and sometimes the symptoms are not the real true problem of what's going on and what's underneath everything that's going on. So we have to take some time to try to listen and try to kind of comb through what our patients are saying to us to get an idea of really what's going on. Because underneath all those things, it may be something as simple as we need to do some blood work to see if there's some hormone levels or some things out of not normal or abnormal, or are we dealing with some underlying depression? A lot of times we don't realize that these small little decreases or changes in our diet, changes in our supplements in terms of our vitamins, our amino acids, all those things indirectly can change how we respond to the stress that we're going through, how we pivot and what we do. And so for those persons, it's just more about if you can get a chance to sit down, because in some cases, some of these people need and will be helpful therapy. The COVID has brought out so many different things in terms of people's mental health, things that people didn't even know that existed, and they didn't even really have those issues that they weren't even aware of them. And so it has been, like we all said, it's a chance for us to pivot, to do things a little bit different, but also to remember that in some of the cases, the exercise won't be just do it, the yoga won't do it, the meditation, but we may need to seek some professional services as well. And those professional services may include some natural herbal sort of things, or it may actually include some medications.
Thank you for sharing that information. When we come back after the break, let me talk to you for a second about what makes me happy. Sometimes medicine won't do it. Sometimes going to the gym and running around the corner won't do it. But let me tell you what will. Some good old comfort food. When we come back after the break, we're going to talk to two outstanding and amazing chefs who will give us some idea of how comfort food can heal what ails us.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back to A Balanced Life. Whew, that was some type of a segment. Dr. Tierney and Dr. Gloria literally gave us some tips and tools that we can use to figure out how we can internally process what's going on with us. I tell you, if you're having a difficult time really being introspective, trying to figure out what's going on with you in these pandemic times, like they said, talk to someone. Allow yourself to breathe and give yourself grace to discover what's going on. In this segment, I want to bring in our two chefs. Doctors Tierney and Dr. Crow have talked to us about the value and benefit of letting it go, but I like to sometimes go to comfort food. So everybody, Chef Monica and Chef Dee Dee, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Hey,
Hello.
how are you?
I am glad to see the two of you. Let me tell you, if you guys, wherever you are, have tried any of the food that these women create, your mouth would be watering just like mine is watering. Wow. So, Chef Dee Dee, I want to talk to you first because how you balance and how you manage to bring balance to the lives of other people.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. During some of the most incredible times in their lives, you're there in the Houston area. So can you share with us, tell us who you are, what you do, and then we'll talk a little bit about how you bring balance and help people heal in times of difficulty.
Hi there, Dr. Jacquie, my favorite mentor in the whole wide world. I am Chef Dee Dee Coleman. I am the owner of Southern Cook and Girl Creations Incorporated, which houses my catering company, Delicious Southern Cuisine Fine Catering, my cooking class studio, which is Cooking with a Twist, LLC, and of course, those award-winning yummy red velvet waffles. Thank you for having me today. When you talk about balanced life and comfort food, I was listening to Dr. Tierney and Dr. Gloria, and it's something that Dr. Tierney said about, your seasons, and what worked for you in one season may not work for you in another season. I am a true example of that. I celebrate my milestone birthday this year. I'll be 50 this year, believe it or not. And things that worked for me, when I was even 45 to now, it just doesn't work anymore. So I have to really create a balance with the foods that I eat. And when you talk about comfort foods, I'm talking about maybe a corn and crab bisque versus a loaded baked potato soup. The corn and crab bisque is going to make me feel light. Like I can conquer the world. I can go out there and work and not feel sluggish and lazy and sometimes lethargic, versus the baked potato soup, which I love. It may put a little more pounds on you, but then I eat that. It's a lot of carbs. So I'm feeling, really sluggish and slow. So you have to find out what works for you, what works for your body. You may not be able to eat a lot of carbs, which in my case, I cannot, because again, it does, slow me down. So I have to figure out, okay, when I get up in the morning, what am I able to eat to make sure that my day is fueled and I'm able to conquer that day efficiently? So it's, it may be scrambled eggs, or it may be a smoothie, or it may be a granola bar, something, with either some granola or some oats, some grains, things like that I know. And of course, with, my multivitamin, vitamin D, elderberry, those things that I eat and start my day off with, because I know that's going to work for me. I can't eat pancakes or anything heavy in the morning because it's just going to mess my entire day up. So that may work different with my daughter who's 27, and I work out with sometimes, and what works for her, she's a whole football player. She's on a female football team. Her workouts are totally different from mine. So that doesn't work for me. I can get on the treadmill, do a little cardio, and, lift a little weights, and I'm good. For lunch, I want to make sure I'm eating a well-balanced diet, even, because I know I have a lot of things to do that day, so I can't eat, a huge, heavy lunch. But for her, she can do it, and she's perfectly fine. Of course, it has to do with, age difference and what her body can tolerate and what my body cannot tolerate. So I think that the foods that you eat play a huge part in balancing your day and making sure you're well fueled for the day and what you have to conquer on that day.
You've just given some exciting tips related to how varying body types, lifestyles, ways of pursuing careers, all of those things have a way when you think about what to eat, when to eat it, and literally how much to eat. Because when it's really good, you want so much of it. But you have to be able to put a pin in your plate and just put it to the side and say, I'm satisfied. You don't have to be full and things of that nature. Now, I will tell you that I love to eat. And that may be when I'm a foodie. I didn't think that I was a foodie, but oh my goodness.
Really, Dr. Jacquie, I was cooking at your house. When I came there, that's all I had to do was cooking. So, yeah.
Chef Monica, you both are laughing at me. And let me tell you, I've tried both of your foods. Chef Dee Dee was here. You guys were actually here probably around the same time when we were doing the benefit for St. Jude. Yeah. And, it's one of those things where you're like, we're going to cook up some good food. We're going to help heal the world one plate, one palate at a time.
Absolutely.
Chef Monica, how's it going with you?
It's going really great. And thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited. So I am Chef Monica, and I am the owner, the product creator of Chef Monica Blends. And I'm also the owner of Entertaining with Chef Monica. And so I'm here in North Carolina, Gastonia, North Carolina, and I am so excited to be on this platform with you. And congratulations. This is so great. I'm so excited for you, Jacquie. This is so excited. And thank you for having me with these amazing women. And, as we're talking about everything that we're doing with food, some things that I had to learn to bring into play with my lifestyle is I was that second plate woman. And I had to say, Monica, you can't keep going back for second plates because guess what? That second plate is putting a second hip on your hips. So I had to say, you got to stop. So I had to get in to the point where I had to say portion control. We have to make sure that we're looking at portion control because I kept saying, how much food do you actually need to eat? So one of the things that I had to get back to was portion control. I had to stop eating the over portions. I was the one that I could go with the best of them. You could have a football player sit right beside me and I could probably have as much as a linebacker plate and eat. I mean, I can't eat. Yeah, I can put it down. I love to eat. But now I cannot do that anymore because it does not help me and I feel sluggish. I don't want to go through the day having that itis. And we know what the itis is, so let's not play that game. We know after you finish eating. So we know what the itis is. So I ain't even getting ready to play that game. So the other thing I had to do, I had to say, no eating after a certain time. I had to say, and I even had to include drinking because see, I even like to play myself. Well, I'll just have me a milkshake. Well, no, girl, you can't do that either. Like a milkshake. And I'm talking about years back, I had to incorporate that and I had to look at losing weight, starting back. And then I had to say, okay, you got to have a cheat day. You can't just go through life saying, I'm not, people say, well, how do you lose weight or how do you do things? Well, you're going to eat something. You got to have some fun in there somewhere. So I don't want to cheat every day. So I'll have a cheat day. So that doesn't mean, okay, well, I'm going to eat cake on Sunday. Well, I'll eat cake on Sunday, but I'm not going to eat a whole cake. I may have a slice of cake. That don't mean you go to, now there's a woman in here in Gastonia. And I don't want to embarrass her, but let me tell you something. That honey, grandma, we call her, what we call her? We call her, I think it's grandma. When I tell you, I haven't had cake. I can't do it. I can't eat her cake. Because let me tell you something, you'll eat that cake every day. I take the plate that the cake was made on, Mama, that's her name, Mama, and I lick the bottom of the cake. I can't. Because see, when I get ready to make a cake, I have to shut down the house. You can't pull in the driveway because that's just not my forte. I'll do it, but it's not my forte. So when I make something for a client, I say, okay, I got somebody who can make a cake. But at any rate, I have to know my vices. And I have to say, because there's a way you can kind of deaden your palate that you don't have that drive to want that sugar. Sugar will drive your appetite. And I like to tell people sugar is the new salt. So, you know, back when we were in the, and I say back, you know, back when we were in I'm going to say I'm not that old, but that season, back when we were maybe in the 70s or the 80s, or what have you, salt, it was all this education about salt. Don't consume this salt. Don't eat this much salt. And we did a great job. But after a while, then came on high fructose corn syrup, back came out all these different sugars, and we just didn't pay attention to that. So then, you know, diabetes started blowing up. We had all this stuff, all these different sugars that are now in our diet. So we're consuming a lot of different sugars, and we just didn't pay attention to it. So it's in everything. And so now everybody's taking on all these sugars. And so we have to pay attention to that. And after a while, I started saying, man, I'm eating sugar. And sugar, if you go and study it, sugar is more addictive than cocaine. So
I believe that.
Well, it is. No, it's the truth. The brain receptors the receptors in your brain, that's the thing. This is a very powerful tool that we have up here. And one of the things that I used to do on my social media, I used to do nutritional Thursdays, and I'm going to get back to that. But I had my social media got compromised. So what we're doing, we're resetting my YouTube, we're resetting everything, and we're going to start pushing everything out on all my social media platforms. But I did a thing about 5 to 6 minutes where we talked about the receptors in the brain. But it is more addictive than sugar is more addictive than cocaine. So I tell people, if you want to make money, open up wait a minute, let me rephrase this. I don't need look now let me don't y'all at me when I make this statement. If you want to make money, open up something that sells sugar, because that's what we do. And I'm sitting here thinking right now, I was like, man, if I want to make some money, but it's the truth. It is. We love that sweet taste. And I don't want to start naming the sweet shops, and I'm not knocking people for that, because everybody should make money, but it does. It drives that appetite. You can open up the books, and I'm not condemning anyone. We have to remember to do things in moderation and be careful of what we eat. Right. I'm not judging anybody. I'm not I guilty.
Look, I'm not going to feel guilty because I like sugar. I don't buy it. Yeah. You will not find sugar, as far as what's the term? One of those products, prepackaged goods, you know, the things that I used to enjoy, like Little Debbie cakes and oatmeal cream pies and Swiss cake rolls, all of those things, that processed sugar, you're absolutely right. But people have a tendency, when we talk about how do we balance our lives, we have a tendency, now that people are back in the office, we're no longer at home and we're not controlling what we can eat throughout the day. You run to that quick fix to give you that jolt of energy in order to be able to move you forward. And I know Dr. Gloria is over there like, let me jump in. So let's bring in Dr. Gloria, because when we talk about the role that sugar plays in our lives, it can wreak havoc. It can wreak havoc. Dr. Gloria.
She was correct in saying it's very, very addictive. And you've heard, if you read a lot, it'll tell you, you eat sugar, you want to eat more sugar. And so we don't think about it from the context of how it damages our cells. And so we have to be careful of the damage that it does internally to our cells, because then we get inflammatory conditions, we get other conditions that are a direct result. And then we, of course, know the biggest condition that we get concerned about is diabetes. And diabetes has effects on different organs, whether it's the eyes, whether it's the liver, whether it's the blood vessels, and whether it's the kidneys. We have all different kind of concerns with excess sugar. And some people are born with, they don't have enough insulin. Those are the juvenile diabetics. And there are people who, as we get older in life, we tend to, our processes are different. Our metabolism slows down. We tend to hold on. Our insulin doesn't work as well as it used to. So therefore, we're more prone to a type 2 diabetes. So we have to be very careful and cautious with that, whether it's in moderation. Everything is in moderation, but we do need to be aware that it's damage. It tastes good. It sure does. But at long run, the effects are also on the heart as well.
Thank you for sharing that information. I'm glad that everybody's on screen, because each of our lives is shaped by so many things. And I know, Chef Didi, when people migrate through Houston all of the time, and there was a moment not too long ago when your balance was upended, when Chef Carla Hall came to see you. Can you share with us about that and how you regained balance in order to be able to keep your business moving to feed the world?
Yes, that was a great time. Well, it was bittersweet. Carla Hall and I met, of course, through Dr. Jacquie and us doing the benefit for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And here in Houston, Texas, we were impacted by Hurricane Harvey, which shut me down. I own a cooking class studio. We have 2 separate studios that we do cooking classes in. And we do a variety of cooking classes. And when Hurricane Harvey came, it completely shut Houston down. And a lot of the businesses here were impacted, including mine. But of course, you can't let that stop you. You have to think like a boss, and you have to understand that, okay, I understand this is, a low moment right now for my business, but keep moving. Again, back to what Dr. Tierney said, life and death is in the power of the tongue. You speak life into those situations. Chef Carla Hall reached out to me, and she was like, look, I see what you're going through. I'm praying for your business. Because we were completely shut down. The next thing I know, she calls me back and she was like, look, I want to come and instruct some cooking classes at your business. And I didn't think she was serious, but she was serious, and she was a woman of her word. She came down and she did 2 amazing cooking classes here at Cooking with a Twist, when we were trying to get our business back and start getting people to start registering for our classes, because you're not thinking about entertainment. You're not thinking about fun. You're thinking about, okay, how am I going to rebuild my house? How am I going to get through everything that I lost through this hurricane, or help other people who lost things through the hurricane? So, and Houston is a foodie city. Let me tell you, every block has a restaurant on it, and it can be any kind of restaurant, which is why we have a variety of cooking classes at Cooking with a Twist. But she came, she did the classes. We sold out every single one of her classes, and then people just start registering for classes again. And I was getting back to normal, all because of that kind gesture from a friend, because that's what I do. I consider her as a friend and a sister, us working together at Salamander Resort with the St. Jude benefit. You create a bond with the chefs that you work with, because you can relate, with those chefs, because we know what it takes to be a great chef. And then she called me back after that, and she was like, okay, I want you on the show. They were filming The Chew at the time. She brought her film crew when she did the cooking classes, and I was able to be on the show, get some national attention. And so now we're able, she helped me bring me back to that business balance. So in my life, there's a personal balance, I have to balance being first a child of God, my spiritual, then, you know, my husband, my children, my home, and then my business. So there's a lot to balance. So I have to make sure that I'm doing things that work for me, physically, mentally, emotionally, and with my diet as well. I'm a chef. I cook. I do meal prep. All of my meal prep clients are different. They have different diets. So they eat what works for them. And so with Carla coming down and helping me get my business back on track, and we've been doing excellent since then, it was a huge help. And you have to understand where you are. Some people, they don't have to balance as much as I have to balance. You know, whatever you have to do in your life, you have to figure out what works for you and how you need to balance that. Whether it's, I used to, again, the changes that I made in my life, my greatest weight was 213 pounds. I lost all that weight. I had to find out what worked for me. I had to leave that second plate alone. I had to leave that second plate alone, and I had to find what diet works for me. And the different seasons of my life. The cheat days are good. I can do a cheat day. I'm not eating a whole cake, but I'm eating a slice of the cake. and that, yeah, I can't slice a cake, you know. And even on your cheat days, you still have to balance. I'm addicted. I used to be addicted to sugar. Let me tell you, I would eat a piece of cake before I ate my dinner. I would eat sweets before I ate real food. So, you know, if I think it's going to be a trigger for me, I'm not going to eat it, even on my cheat day.
I think that says it right there. You literally just summed up this entire segment, that you have to figure out what works for you, and don't be so quick to just keep putting food in your mouth. It's like, put the fork down. You know, like to the side, do those things that are necessary. And I know that we had just a few minutes left in this segment. So I want to thank you guys for sharing your stories. I want to thank you all. Let's bring Dr. Tierney in, because I want to see her lovely face as well. You guys have been outstanding today. Really being able to balance. And this is where I normally do my reflection. And I'm going to say a few words, and then I want each of you to just say one thing that you want to leave this audience with on how to balance the everyday things. As we begin to move out of this season that we're in, and we're not out of this pandemic by any means, but we are in this space of saying spring is here, daylight savings time is on the horizon, we're going to be getting out more. I would like for each of you to find a space to allow yourself to grow. Give yourself that ability to get out and about and keep it moving. Decide what new things you'd like to try. Give your palate the opportunity to explore and experience new things. So we'll bring our panelists and our guests back in, and give us one takeaway or one tip that you'd like to share with our audience as we wrap up today's show. We'll start Chef Monica, Dee Dee, Tierney, and Dr. Gloria.
Make a wish list.
Create your own balance, whatever works for you. Speak life, and it starts in your mind. So whatever you think is what you're going to do.
Self-care.
Spring cleaning is not just for your house. Spring cleaning is for your mind and your emotions as well. So whatever is going on in your mind, it will come out of your mouth. And before you know it, it'll be in your hand. So make sure that we're thinking good thoughts, we're speaking positivity, and that will make sure that we get to our next level of success.
Thank you for all of those wonderful tips and the things that you have shared today. Thank you, everybody, for continuing to watch A Balanced Life with Dr. Jacquie here at the Black Star Network. Bye now.